Assalamu alaikum everyone. The topic I'm going to cover today is the additional tier 1 capital as defined by Basel III. I'm going to look at one of the instruments and see if that instrument qualifies to become a part of additional tier 1 capital. So in front of me, I have an instrument and I have the Basel conditions which justify an instrument to become a tier 1 capital, additional tier 1 capital. So for me, the first question is, would this instrument that I have in the description, would it justify to become a part of tier 1 core capital? So let's look at what the instrument is about. A bank issues a perpetual preferred shares with the following features. The dividend payment is not cumulative. An interest of 2% will be paid on the paid up capital if the credit rating of the bank decreases. The shares will be senior to all other unsecured debt of the company. Now, for common equity tier 1 capital, some things are very, very easily identified. Number one, the first requirement is that the first requirement is that it must be common shares. Perpetual preferred shares would not fit in tier 1 capital. So anything else has to do with premium accounts, bonus shares, all related to these common shares. This reserves, the minority interest, and the unappropriated, the retained profits, again, all associated with common shares. If something is not associated with common shares, common equity, common stocks, then it is not a part of tier 1 capital. So having said that, we can simply say that this one, for this question, the answer is no. Since these are preference shares, they are not included in tier 1 core capital. The second part is, can these shares be included in additional tier 1 capital? So for additional tier 1 capital, Basel again has some requirements, and we'll go over these requirements in a second. So yes, additional tier 1 requirements are that the capital shall consist of. Now, whatever falls under the additional tier 1 capital must follow the qualifying criteria set in Annexure 2. So for any instrument to be a part of tier 1 core, additional tier 1 capital, we have to see if it fulfills the requirement of Annexure 2. If it does not fulfill all the requirements set in Annexure 2, then it is not a part of additional tier 1 capital. So let's look at this Annexure 2. What are the requirements set by Basel Committee? The instrument should be perpetual. That is, it should not have an end date, and it's not like a 5-year or maturity date. So second thing is, it should be non-cumulative. If it is a cumulative preference shares, and if you do not pay in this period, you have to pay the dividends on the preference shares in the next period, then they cannot be a part of additional tier 1 capital. Okay. The instrument should be issued, paid up fully. Now, these are very important words. The instrument should be issued, fully paid up, perpetual, unsecured, and should be available to absorb losses. If it's not paid up, if it's on installments, then as you start facing losses, as the bank faces losses, the other party might get out of the contract. So it should be fully paid up. and perpetual, I've already discussed, unsecured. So any instrument that is secured, that is senior to anything other than common shares, we cannot be a part of additional tier 2 capital. So can these shares be included in additional tier 1 capital? Just by looking at this statement, it is senior to all other unsecured debt of the company. If it's senior, then it's not unsecured. It will not absorb losses. Thus, it cannot be a part of additional tier 1 capital. It's a senior instrument, so interest is not. Okay. This instrument will be junior to everything else except for the common shares. We also know there's this requirement over here that no compensation should be available to preference shareholders other than dividends or coupons. If there's anything else paid to the preference shareholders, then it cannot be a part of the additional tier 1 capital. Over here, it says that there will be a dividend payment, and then there's also interest rate. Any no interest payment could be made on any instrument that could be considered additional tier 2 capital. Furthermore, the dividends or coupon rate and the formula should both be known at the time of issuance and not linked with the credit standing of the issuer. If the dividend rate, coupon rate, interest rate change at the time with the credit rating, then again, it's not a part of additional tier 1 capital. So because this instrument pays more because of the credit rating decrease, it cannot be a part of additional tier 1 capital. Okay. So let's look at if there's any other condition that we need to see that is being violated over here. Apart from these two conditions, we also have something about options. In the future, can the sellers, the investors come and, the buyers, the investors come and sell these shares to the company? So the requirement is there should not be any put option. The buyers of these shares, perpetual shares, preferred shares, should not be able to sell the shares to the company. There should never be such an exercise option. On the other hand, the company has the option to call these preferred shares back to retire them, but this must happen 5 years after the issuance date, not before that. And also this must happen with the approval of SPP, nothing else. Lastly, if the company is retiring such an instrument, then the company should also replace the instrument with capital of the same quality or better. And the call premium is not allowed. They should not be able to give these investors any extra bonus because you are retiring the instrument. What about redemption of these shares? Again, you cannot buy back these shares in the first 5 years. There's no redemption of this issuance in the first 5 years. If any repayment has to be made, it has to have a SPP approval. There should not be any sinking fund requirement. Sinking fund is a fund where the company puts money so that when they have to pay or retire the instrument, they have money collected to pay to the investors. There should not be any sinking fund requirement attached to this instrument. And this instrument cannot have any features that hinder recapitalization. Recapitalization means the company should be able to issue new instruments when needed. And finally, the most important part, the reason we have additional tier one capital, the loss absorption features. This instrument should be able to absorb losses. And it could, through that loss absorption, through either conversion to common shares or the write down mechanism. So in the end, perpetual non-cumulative preference shares without any incentives other than coupon, other than dividends, and with no leading credit rating effects, could be considered a part of your additional tier one capital. So let's look at this instrument once again and see if there's anything in the instrument, if we have captured all the mistakes that exist in this, not mistakes, but in the things that exist in this contract that do not allow it to become additional tier one capital. A bank issued a perpetual shares with the following features. The dividend payment is not cumulative. Okay, this not cumulative is good. It's a tick in the books. But this interest rate at 2% is a strict no. You cannot have this. Will be paid on the paid up capital if the credit rating decreases. The instrument should not have anything that links it with the credit rating. The shares will be senior. No, that's bad. It should be junior to everything else. To all other unsecured debt of the company, yes. If it's additional tier one capital, it should be junior to all other unsecured debt of the company. So in the end, the last question asked me to rewrite this preference shares. What would this contract look like if this instrument had to be a part of additional tier one capital? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all those parts which do not agree with the Basel requirement Annexure 2. So let's do it quickly. So here we cut off interest of 2%. There will be no interest rate and will be paid regardless of the credit rating of the bank. So, and will be paid on paid up capital. This goes out. The share will be junior, not senior to all other unsecured debt of the company. So in this way, we can rewrite the same contract so that it satisfies the Basel requirements and so that it becomes a part of our additional tier one capital. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.